Hey everybody, it's Brandon and welcome back to Living Life 2.0. I am so excited to have you join us, and I'm so excited for my awesome guest today. She is becoming a new friend of mine. We've only go back a few weeks, but introduced to me by a really a good mutual friend of ours. And so I want to introduce Heather Parady to the show today. Heather has an incredible story, and I'm so excited to bring it to you. That Heather is a host of Unconventional Leaders. It's a top ranked podcast which interviews leaders from all over the world who use their unique gifts to make an impact in this world. She has had the honor of interviewing names like Seth Godin, Chris Guillebeau, Heather Monahan, Paul Young, who I absolutely love, and Jack Canfield. This is the interesting part for me. Heather was professionally trained as a mental health therapist and then turned into an online entrepreneur where she's helped countless brands bring their services online in order to scale their impact. Heather, welcome to Living Life 2.0.
Brandon, I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
Well, you are a ball of energy. I've learned a lot from you already about TikTok. I've learned that
Yeah.
you hate Facebook, and this is going to go into my Facebook group as well as the podcast and the YouTube channel. But I've loved following you, talking with you, learning from you, and I'm very excited to have you. So, welcome. Tell us a little bit about you and your personal, your family life, and then let's jump into how you are rocking this world and making a change.
Sure. Well, I just want to congratulate you. Not many people actually get on TikTok and post content, and the fact that you did within like an hour of us talking, I was like, okay, he's actually really serious about content creation, which is awesome. I still try to figure out what I'm doing right now. I feel like I've over the past few years been just following curiosity and taking a lot of, some would say, very risky, dumb moves. But for me, I'm going to say brave. I left graduate school with a couple of job offers on the table, perfect jobs, exactly, the positions that I wanted, paid well, flexibility in my schedule. I mean, I was a complete idiot to turn them down, but there was this nudging thing inside of me that says, well, what if you tried? What if you tried something a little bit unconventional, something a little bit different? I had dipped my toe into small business during undergrad and graduate school and built a really successful little side gig where I was making more money than I would be making, working a full-time job in the profession that I was made. And I was like, oh, well, this internet thing's kind of serious. Like you can actually do some really cool stuff here. And I got hooked on it, and it's cool because of the money you can make and the freedom that you can have. But I think what's even more interesting is we're redefining business and life and education, and there's just so many transitions even within my short 34 years on this planet where there isn't one way anymore. And sometimes people aren't cut into one mold, or they feel like they can go through school, or they can climb the corporate ladder, or maybe they're just cut a little bit differently, and you can still be incredibly successful and very fulfilled doing things a little bit outside of the box. So I'm really drawn to those type of people, the little weirdos, the outcasts, the people who are a little rebellious. And and I just it's been very hard and very scary. And people always say, oh, you left the mental health field. And I'm like, actually, I don't think I did. I think I'm transitioning how I'm using that in a
Yeah.
different way, which is also another interesting point is, it's not whether you use your degree or not. We're figuring out unconventional ways of using our education. It doesn't have to be in the traditional work field. It could
Right.
be in a different, more creative way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, hey, I'm one of those weirdos with you. From starting companies when I was in like outside of my paper route, I was trying constantly to start a company and figure things out, and it was always from that. I love the way that you put it. It was the curiosity.
Mm.
Could I do this? If I can, how can I do that? How can I do this better? And I want to applaud you for doing that, and then also for training other people how to do that. So tell me what was the first steps for you. You've said so many nuggets in there. I want to go back to, you said we are changing the way we do education. We're changing the way we do business. I mean, we really are on the forefront of changing the way business takes place. We're changing the way people provide financially for themselves. Tell me what your transition was like in first starting into this online marketing world.
Sure. So, I've experienced this, and I've seen it a lot too with people that I work with. We want to, jump ship and land into something that is ideal. And there's a lot of humility that I think has to go into any kind of transition, where you have to just take an honest look at what's in your hand and what you can monetize fast, even if it's not what you want to be doing long term. So the transition for me was doing a lot of different freelance work, taking different clients and doing, playing around with different things that I knew I didn't want to do long term, but I had to get some kind of traction and momentum built. And so it's just that's why I love Gary Vee, because Gary Vee always talks about, the humility piece of what's in your hand, what can you monetize, what can you do right now, and keep the vision in mind, but be willing to work up towards something. So it was messy. It was really difficult, because again, I was trained in one thing, and then transitioning that into something digital and something that was tangible, that I could get people results for fast and also have a level of authority. And it's an interesting balance. It's such a fast changing world too, because you'll learn one way of things now, and in a couple of months it can be completely different. So if you're not okay with constant change and not getting romantic with different methods, this isn't the world for you.
Yeah. Well, so somebody that's listening or watching that says, "Gosh, I've had this desire, I've had this passion, I've had this yearning or this pulling,"
Mhm.
and they're nervous to do it. What do you say to them?
Seeing what people are able to create and how much they're able to make, and the life that they're able to form based off of leaning into that nudge is unreal. I am a believer that you can literally become a millionaire selling, like tricks to show your dog. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
something random. Um, it's literally limitless. What gets in our way is our own pride, and I've experienced that I'm constantly having to check myself, because we want to appear one way and we don't want to fail and we don't want to be messy to other people. Some comfort for everyone is to know that people aren't paying as much attention as you think that they are. They're really not. Everybody,
Yeah.
it's in psychology, it's called the spotlight effect. We all think we have the spotlight effect on us. And so messing up and being messy is completely okay. Failing is okay. The people who
Mhm.
give you crap about it, give that fuel to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to live with regrets personally. And if everything fails and I go back to the traditional 9 to 5 and all of that, I can literally say, I know I gave everything and I tried and I gave it all. And there's some peace to that. The thought of me being 80 years old and just going the way that I was supposed to go and silencing that, I don't think I could have lived with that. So there
Mhm.
is no regrets on that end.
Yeah. So, what's the? I want to ask this one more time, and maybe a little bit different way.
Sure.
There's so many people that I feel like are living on the sidelines, and they would probably classify it themselves. They're not really living the life they want to live. Whether they're scared, they've got negative voices in their head from people telling them that they weren't, good enough, smart enough, whatever. What's that first step for them to start moving in a direction that actually gives them more fulfillment?
Get around some bat crazy people. Get around some people who you really admire, who have courage, who are going to push you. I believe environment is everything, because what's normal is what you subject yourself to,
Mm,
what you think is normal. You know what I mean? Like my husband's
yeah.
really into fitness. It's disgusting. And he thinks it's normal to like say, oh, no, thank you. I won't drink a beer on the weekend, or, eat an extra, cookie or whatever. Like that's normal to him, because he hangs out with really healthy people and he's constantly immersing himself in that. And so we don't understand that we have so much more control over our environment, and literally the makeup of our brains and the way that we think by where we position ourselves. So who do you want to be like? What kind of life do you want to live? Sit your butt down with those people and break bread with them and hang out with them and annoy them and text them and just force your friendship on them, because that's going to start rewiring your thought process, the way you see yourself, your identity. And it's a very long process. The things that you just mentioned, Brandon, are deep rooted things that go way back to even childhood. And so a lot of patience and grace with that, and a solid a spiritual morning routine, I think, is so key, whether you're spiritual or not, but really uh, investing in the long-term process of unraveling a lot of that. But short term, I think just getting around some awesome people who are going to be like, come on, you told me you wanted to do this. I see this
Mhm.
in you, and draw that out of you. We need that.
Yeah. So I'm going to, call out the irony of this. The person who is trained in the mental health industry, her recommendation is hang out with batshit crazy people.
100%.
Yeah, and it's funny. I've been hearing more and more of that. Embracing your crazy, because
Yep.
it does. It takes courage. It takes crazy. It takes a little bit of nuts just to say, you know what, screw this. I'm going to go for it. And it doesn't even if people are keeping the 9 to 5 while they're trying to pursue something else, or as you know, I coach a bunch of coaches. And there's so many, I get text messages from them. I get phone calls and everything from them, and they're just like, I'm just not sure. And it's like, you have just got to go for it. You got to get rid of some of these inhibitions and realize that it's okay to make mistakes online. And
Absolutely.
I love that you shared that. I'm going to tell a quick story, and then I'm gonna kick it back to you. Years ago, and I've got this balding spot that's been starting like back here, and I jokingly said one time to some people, I'm like, yeah, it's real. When I'm on a plane, I always feel like my head's back, and it's like my bald spot is just showing up to the world. And somebody looked at me and said, Brandon, no one notices. And I said, oh, no, no, and I thought they meant like, it's not that big. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know. I'm
Yeah.
just, it's starting to
Yeah.
grow. And they're like, no, no one notices.
Yep.
And I went to go explain it again. And she said, no, you don't get me. Nobody's paying attention to you.
Yep.
Everybody's paying attention to themselves.
Yep.
And it was this moment of aha for me that was like, that spotlight isn't on me. I mean, as much as my ego, wants to think it is, it's not on me. And so there's this freedom in just being able to go for it.
100%. And imperfection is actually enduring, and it's a way to connect with people, because we want to be around others that we feel like are similar to us, or that we can relate to. And so if you think about anyone that you admire, whenever they talk about their weaknesses or things they've struggled with, if anything else, that's just uh, elevated your level of respect for them, because it made them more human. And
Right.
especially in the online space, we're desperate for connection right now more than ever. And we're trying to navigate for the first time what it means to be a human being in a digital space. And so we have the opportunity as leaders to lead with the imperfection, lead with the mess. Yes, care about the way you show up. I'm not saying don't give a rat's ass about anything, but in the same sense that, buzzword authentic, it's not just a preference anymore. I think it's becoming a demand online,
Yeah,
because all the things
absolutely.
that used to work 5 years ago, the polish, blah, 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 people see right through it anymore. And they're like, tell me who you really are, and tell me how I can relate to you. Tell me how you can help me. That builds trust, which ultimately builds authority in the online space.
Yeah, gosh, I love that you just said that. Influence is leadership, and we forget so often. I hear people say, oh, I'm not trying to go be an influencer, and I tell people like, you better be, because if you
Yeah.
want to have a product to
Yeah.
sell, you want
Yeah.
people to help, like whatever your why is
Yeah.
fine. But if you want to do that, you better be an influencer. Now, it doesn't mean the negative image of an influencer that you may have in your brain right now.
Right.
Get rid of that. But influence is leadership. And if you're not a leader, nobody wants to buy from you. Nobody wants to follow you. So I want to end it with this, because I'm really fascinated by this. And of course, I followed your lead, and I created a TikTok account. But I don't want to focus so much on TikTok itself,
Sure.
but I want to focus on the fact that you recently looked at TikTok and said, I need to be there. I need to
Mm-hmm.
show up in that medium.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like for you? And tell us, where was your platform before? And
Sure.
what did it take for you to jump into TikTok? And the reason, and let me say this real quick, the reason I'm asking is I know so many people want to be online. They want to be influencers. They want to have this presence. They want to be able to sell. And you've done that. What does it take for somebody to go from, I established this, I'm moving in new to TikTok? What is that process like? What's your advice for people?
Sure. So I agree with what Gary Vee talks about is really paying attention to where attention is at. And again, being adaptable as content creators and leaders, that we've got to become, less attached to the vehicle and more passionate about our message and the kind of work that we want to do. So if I'm doing a silly thing on TikTok or being creative, that's one thing. Or if I'm writing more professional posts on LinkedIn, then, that's another thing. And just being willing to adapt to where you need to go. Because I think we've got to become more attached to that vision and the mission, because again, that humility piece that has to go into like, oh, I don't know this tech, or I don't know how to be this or have to be that. Again, you don't have to be anything, you need to be yourself. um, as far as platforms go, I've really gone a lot more minimalistic in my approach, just because, yeah, you can outsource a lot of content and you can, have other people do it for you, and that's fine. Or that's a method. But I think it's really important to have one or two platforms that you have your own thumbs, navigating, and you using your own voice and showing your own face and all that. Again, for that human element piece. And for me, I've really paid attention to what's working and where the attention is. And for me, TikTok has gotten, I've gotten clients from TikTok, and you've seen it, Brandon. Like, really? How in the world have I made sales from TikTok? And you've seen what I put out there. It's ridiculous. But people want to work with people they like,
Yeah.
ultimately. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to spend a lot of time and money and energy with somebody who is lame, or I don't like, or I don't enjoy, or doesn't have a sense of humor or whatever. So
Yeah.
again, I think I'm venturing off from what you asked originally, but I'm not attached to platform as much
Mm,
as I am attached to where people are and how I can make an impact in their lives. And right now, there's a lot of people paying attention to TikTok.
right.
People are escaping there. I think things are so heavy right now in 2020 that people need to laugh. People need to enjoy something right now. And, you don't have to be a funny, ridiculous person. I'm not a dancer. I don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But we can think a little bit more creatively about how we present our content.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love about that too for you is that it's a place that you want to be. It wasn't just, oh gosh, I have to go to TikTok. You looked at it, you checked it out. You're like, hey, this is a
Sure.
good fit for me. I can show up authentically in here. And then I just want to highlight one other thing that you said. It's so important. Um, and I learned it as known, liked, and trusted. And I've converted it over the years to like, trusted, and remembered,
I
especially
like
in this
that.
online digital world. It's so hard to be remembered, but it's using TikTok, using Facebook, using Twitter,
Mhm.
LinkedIn, whatever it may be for you, for an individual. It's all about people. First of all, they need to like you.
Sure.
And then they need to learn how to trust you, and
Yep.
that's your job.
Yep.
They have to learn how to trust you by who you are and how you show up. And the goal of that is to remember you, because when that pain hits or that desire hits or some motivation kicks in or something, and they're ready to take a step, if they don't remember you, you're not getting that deal.
That's it. That is the
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Heather, we are coming up on our time. I like to be quick.
I like it.
And so we're going to wrap up, but I want to leave the last word to you. As you're looking out in the audience, you said 2020 has been rough. It's been heavy, and you've
Mm-hmm.
got this uniqueness of you understand the mental health side, which, as
Mm-hmm.
you know, is very important to me and my history and what I've struggled through and have overcome. But as you're looking at the mental health side, you're looking at the challenges of
Mm-hmm.
2020, and you're looking at the opportunities in this internet, this wild, wild
Mm-hmm.
west of digital. What's your advice for people
Yep.
that are looking at you and going, "Wow, I want to be like Heather"? What's your advice to them?
Well, first, be like you. Don't be like Heather. But second of all, remember, people online are number one still human beings. And you are a human being. Just because your message, your content is going online, always ask yourself, is this what I would do in real life? Is this what I would really do with a friend? Is this how I'd really talk to a potential client? The roles and the things that you would do in person can be translated online and should still be used as a measuring stick. If you wouldn't speak to someone that way in person, don't do it online. And, and I
Yeah,
think anyone listening to your podcast is, way past that point. But in the same sense, like, when you're building a relationship with someone, Brandon, I wouldn't tell you and your wife I was going to show up on Tuesday night for dinner and not show up. I wouldn't make commitments to you and just flake out. Oh, I got busy. You know what I mean? We show up when we say we're going to show up. We do what we say what we're going to do, whether that's putting out a podcast on Thursdays or, meeting with someone, you're true to your word. And if we can translate that onto the online space, I think we are going to build that know, like, and trust that you talked about and being remembered, because that's going above reproach. And that's what people need so much right now.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm gonna add one thing to that for the audience too is don't quit. I listened to, I don't know if you listen to Steve Weatherford. Your husband might listen to him or follow him his podcast. But I was listening to him the other day, and he said, "Hey, for the first 18 months of my podcast, he said I had crickets.
Yep.
Like I had crickets." And he said it was because he was trying to emulate, Lewis Howes and other people. And it wasn't until he just started being himself and he did, he sat in his sauna or sat in his hot tub, I guess, and just started rambling and talking about some of the things that he was thinking about in life and that was important to him. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden his podcast started taking off. Yeah. And so I think two things there is, one is don't quit. And number two, as you've said, I want to just reiterate what you've said is be yourself. The first thing you said was, first of all, everybody don't try to be Heather, be you.
Yep.
And that is huge in this online world. It's nice to watch people glean some skills, maybe some little strategies, but most importantly is to be yourself. And that's what I heard from you loud and clear, Heather.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome.
Heather, you are wonderful. Thank you so much. I look forward to meeting you in Atlanta. Yes. I do have a meeting coming up. I'll share with you in Savannah coming up in the next few weeks. So hopefully I have a chance to get to meet you when I'm down there as well. Everybody, Heather Parady. And Heather, if people wanted to follow you and connect with you, what's the best place for them to do that?
Well, what I would rather them do is leave a rating and review on Brandon's podcast, so more people can find this content. So important, such an important message. Leveling Up 2.0, I love it. So subscribe to Brandon's podcast and leave a review. Thank you.
Heather, you are awesome. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Another wonderful episode of Living Life 2.0. As Heather said, leave your comments down below. Love to hear what you think. Love to hear what topics are important to you as we're going through 2020 and COVID and all the craziness that's happening. But this is Brandon Lee. I want to encourage you, living life, that 2.0 is pursuing an upgraded life, and you have the power within you to go out and get that, and we want to encourage you to do so. All right, everybody. Heather, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Everybody, thanks so much. We'll see you next time.